You're also going to love Nathan Zegura, who joins us right now on the Fan Hotline. Hello, Nathan.
Good morning, Monfrere. How are you?
Doing well. How you think Sunday's going to go?
I think the Browns need to get a win, and I think they've got a very good opportunity to do so in Las Vegas against a Raiders team that is struggling and against a Raiders team where I think kind of their weaknesses match up pretty well with our strengths. So I'm optimistic about the Browns' ability to go in there, get a win in Shedeur Sanders' first start against the Raiders, and hopefully kind of get a little bit of momentum here as we come back for 2 games at home against the Niners and the Titans.
Nathan, what do you think of the reaction from one half of football? Because on Monday, we came in here saying it's a little absurd, no matter who the quarterback is, but obviously because it's Shedeur, because of his fame, his fan base around the nation, we knew that was going to happen. So did you think it was patently unfair, or did you think, hey, well, he played poorly, that's what you get?
I mean, there's so much to the discussion, I think, around Shedeur. I think that, look, he came in there in a situation which is a very difficult thing to do for a backup quarterback, where we know that not just Shedeur, but backups around the league don't get reps during the week. Now, of course, they're in the meetings, and we found out, obviously, Shedeur Sanders gets one-on-one time with Kevin Stefanski every week, but still, it is a difficult thing because game plans are put together in collaboration with the quarterback. So the things that were in that game plan, in most cases, were things that Dylan Gabriel really liked, concepts that he liked, and concepts they thought would work against that defense of the Baltimore Ravens for Dylan Gabriel. So he has to come in there. They put some things in, and I thought there are a couple things I saw that made me optimistic going forward. Obviously, 4 of 16 is not good, but I thought on that final drive he did look good. We know what we've got to eliminate: holding the ball, trying to escape backwards out of the pocket. He's got to be very careful. He likes to shift the ball from his right hand to his left hand when he's trying to escape, and the ball got knocked out against the Ravens. So there are things to clean up, but what you saw is when he did have a good pocket and he understood what he was seeing, he was able to deliver the football. And I'll go to one play, the one to Harold Fannin, the first play of the last drive. I actually have a play breakdown of that on clevelandbrowns.com, the Browns mobile app you can check out. But that was a play we actually had run earlier in the game with Shedeur Sanders in his first possession, where you use on one side, it's a deep post, on the other side, it's a deep dig. And you're reading the single high safety. Now, the first time he got 2 high safeties. He checked it down to David Njoku underneath. So then they come back, and he saw again, you saw the linebackers jump down on Njoku, gave him that window. He saw it, and he ripped it to Harold Fannin. He read that deep safety perfectly. He was deeper than the deepest. Middle of the field was open, and he threw it right there to Harold Fannin for 25 yards. So I thought that was encouraging. I thought when he spun out and he had the shot down the field to Isaiah Bond, now that's one that I think he normally would hit. Maybe it was just a little amped up, but still good recognition, good throw. And then the throw to Gage Larvin was a great throw, great catch, and then an even better defensive play as Chidobe Awuzie knocked the football out. But I think it was better than 4 of 16, but at the same time, there's a long way to go for this to be at the level that we need it to be. Now, this week, he's going to get every single rep in practice. The game plan, as I talked to Kevin Stefanski yesterday, is being put together collaboratively with Shedeur. And here's the other thing. Shedeur has done a good job. If you go back to the Carolina game, or you go even in that Ravens game, when he gets a single high look, especially cover 3, he's been very effective. And guess what? The Raiders play more cover 3 than any team in the NFL. Now, they don't blitz a ton. You better believe they're going to blitz. So the Browns have got to be ready for that. Shedeur Sanders has got to be ready for that as well. So I think you'll see some screens, some draws, some max protect situations where you're going to try to get a shot against the blitz if you can pick it up and have some answers for that, because I know the Browns have to be ready for that.
Nathan Zegura joining us on the Fan Hotline. Very interesting how I don't want you to say anything that could be getting you in any trouble whatsoever.
I love when you set up questions like this. It's great.
Well, Lima said this before the show, and it's like, all of a sudden, does Max Crosby and the rest of the defensive line end up on the injured list out of nowhere? And they're all limited. Like, oh, I don't know, they're limited. They could play, they could not play. It throws me off.
Let's see what they do here on Friday, right? Let's see what their injury designations are. Max Crosby is the kind of guy that is not going to just, I think, take a game off. Now, I think what you're getting at is draft positioning for 2026 and beyond and things of that nature.
Lucky Fatu ends up on there. Mason Crosby ends up there. I know
some gamesmanship here.
Laulu is on there, but he was there at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, but those guys are limited. I mean, it's not like we're getting guys going all of a sudden DNP. Now, if they don't practice on Friday, that'll be a different thing. I think both these teams want to win. Pete Carroll, I think, is not in a position where he's thinking so much about his future. I think right now, the way things are going there, it feels like it could be one and done. Geno Smith probably feels like he's playing for kind of his football life right now, the way that he struggled this year leading the league with 13 interceptions. So, no, I do not think that they're going to go out there and just kind of pull their quality players. Now, if you all of a sudden Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty and Max Crosby are inactive, now then I think that would raise quite a few eyebrows. But I think both of these teams need to win. Losing and the notion, and we've dealt with it here, right? The notion that, we're playing for next, it's just hard. It takes a toll on a fan base, and that's a Raiders organization. I thought Pete Carroll said in his press conference this week where, he said their last game felt like they were on the road, right? They were playing the Cowboys. It was a pro-Cowboy stadium. And he said, we need to win so that we can get this place rocking for us. We need to put that product on the field. So I think that's something that fans think about, media thinks about, but I don't think that's anything that an NFL team thinks about anymore. It's just the toll of losing is too great.
Nathan Zegura joining us on the show. The Alex Wright extension. I'm a big fan of Alex Wright. Spoke about it earlier today. What do you think it does for him, for the football team? How good a news was this for you?
Great news. Well, first of all, it means that he's got to be the most successful person. We already knew he was the tallest person, but now he's got to be the most successful person to ever come out of Elba, Alabama. So good for him, doing a heck of a job there for Alex Wright. I think it's a great contract, not only for the player, Alex Wright getting the 3 years, $33 million, but also for the Browns, because now you've got that bookend opposite Myles Garrett locked in there. And when Alex Wright came in the league, they knew it was going to be a couple of years of development, just kind of a big player out of the University of Alabama, Birmingham. It was going to take some time to adjust to the NFL game. Well, that adjustment has happened, and he has been incredibly productive for the Browns. 3 sacks this year, career high 9 tackles for loss, and I think he gives them that big end. He is strong. He is physical. He is violent. I love this signing. He's a guy that I wanted them to lock up in the middle of this season. You get basically when you trade Greg Newsome for Tyson Campbell, that's another spot that's now locked up for the future. He's under contract. By the way, I think he has been phenomenal for the Browns, not only in coverage, but last week takes on Patrick Ricard. I mean, what more could you want from a cornerback to do that and still make the play? And then I think another guy that the Browns probably have to look at, in season, if there's another in-season extension, is maybe Devin Bush. Devin Bush has played really, really well for this football team. Unfortunately, we don't know what the future holds for Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and the idea of being able to keep Carson Schlesinger and Bush together for the future, I think, is also good. So I think this could be the first of a couple of kind of extensions that we see. This probably being the most high profile of those extensions that we see here with Alex Wright. But this, I think, is a great signing. And if Alex Wright is a quality number 2 defensive end, which certainly it appears that he is that for the Cleveland Browns, this contract will be seen as a very good contract, especially if he continues to ascend over the next 3 years.
Nathan, Jim Brown, former Browns running back in 1963, combined for over 2,000 yards in 14 games. 1964, he had a big season, and they won the championship. But could I call Myles Garrett's season, if he tracks down the all-time sack record and continues this level of dominance, can I call this the greatest individual season in Cleveland Browns history?
I think it's going to be the greatest defensive season in Cleveland Browns history, and he's got a couple things to shoot for to make it the greatest defensive season in NFL history. I think that's so hard to say, different eras, different games, all of that. But what Myles Garrett is doing right now is nothing short of spectacular. It's like, oh man, he got 4 sacks. It wasn't even like that big of a deal. In fact, the NFL has not rewarded him for getting 5 sacks in a game or 4 sacks in a game with the defensive player of the week. It went to a linebacker who, yes, he racked up 20 tackles, but that also means the other team's on the field quite a bit, running a lot of plays. I think they're very different types of plays, but Myles Garrett right now, here's one of the stats that I think is wild. Number 1, 10 sacks last 3 games. The only other time it's happened, Richard Dent, the Hall of Famer of the Chicago Bears in 1984. So he's done something that has not happened in the NFL in 41 years, 10 sacks in 3 games. Now, the other thing, and we got quarterbacks getting the ball out quicker than ever, all of those things. It's really kind of incredible, not to mention the fact Richard Dent was on a team that was beating a lot of people. And so they were ahead, teams had to throw. That has not been the case. That's one of the things that's so impressive about what Myles Garrett has been able to do. Now, the other part of it is last year, we'll go back. This game on Sunday is going to feature the last 3 leaders in tackles for loss. Mason Crosby led the league with 22 tackles for loss in 2022. Then he led the league with 23 tackles for loss in 2023. Myles Garrett led the league with 22 tackles for loss last year. Myles Garrett already has 22 tackles for a loss this season. He has an opportunity to get into the 30s in tackles for loss. Now, that's only happened one other time in NFL history. J.J. Watt one year had 39 tackles for a loss. 39. He had 39, 29, 28. Those are the three most in a single season in NFL history. So Myles Garrett has a chance to set the sack record. I think he has a chance to chase down that tackles for loss record. And I think he's going to be the defensive player of the year. I think if we were better in terms of our record, I think he'd be in the conversation for MVP. Now, the Browns, I think, are also in a great position to do something a little historic, which is wild given the overall situation. But that's to have the defensive player of the year and the defensive rookie of the year on the same team. That's something that's only happened one time in NFL history before, and it was the same player, Lawrence Taylor, as the rookie of the year and defensive player of the year for the Giants.
Nathan Zegura joining us on the show. You think Joe Burrow is going to play on Sunday?
I kind of do. I mean, it would be kind of wild because they've been targeting that day against Baltimore. Now, at the same time, they're kind of on the verge of being out of it if they're not yet quite fully out of it. So maybe they think, hey, we got to get him back out there. We got to get a win. We got to jump into this thing. They won't have Jamar Chase. But if you're practicing fully, now, as I pointed out, that could mean a lot of different things. Practicing fully could mean that, yes, he's practicing in full and he's taking the first team reps. Now, Joe Flacco is also limited. Practicing fully could also mean he's running the scout team and doing so, and that would be his role as the backup quarterback this week. So we don't really have insight unless somebody from Cincinnati ever kind of spills the beans, since we're a very first-team rep-obsessed society these days, if he's getting any first-team reps. If he was getting all the first-team reps, then he's absolutely playing on Sunday.
I like that line you had in there, Nathan. Well, see, this is the weird thing is that they're 3-7. If he plays this week, like, how injured is he? Because they're saying he looks outstanding. Well, if he looks outstanding and say they still lose, it's like, well, wait a minute. You're supposed to be the leader of this football team. I guess you're going back out there next week, too, on Thursday and playing. Like for a second,
once he plays, he's playing the rest of the way.
Exactly. Like for a second, I'm like, well, I was expecting him to be limping around and all this stuff and trying to Willis Reed it, and it's like, well, if he can go, then you're the leader of the team. You got to go because that would set a bad precedent in the locker room. So he would go the rest of the way.
100%. 100%. And they got to try to get through this game without Jamar Chase, and then they got to try to beat the Ravens, and then try to get to 5-7 and feel like they've got a chance to, run the table to 10-7. And if you have Joe Burrow, of course you can do that. Their biggest issue, though, has not necessarily been quarterback play. Joe Flacco put up back-to-back games of over 38 points and threw the ball very well for them, and they lost both of those games. So that Cincinnati one, they're in a tough spot. But, yeah, I think if he's ready to go, he will go, and I think he'll play out the rest of the season as long as he's healthy.
Nathan, I know you're a football fan. You watch the league a little bit here and there. Kansas City right now is the 9 seed. At 5-5.
Yeah.
All right. Buffalo, after last night's tough loss against a really good defense, 7-4. They're the 6th seed. Denver at 9-2 is the number 1 overall seed with the Patriots tied at 9-2. Who is coming out of the AFC this year to represent the conference in the Super Bowl?
Oh, that's a good question. I thought you were going to say who's going to even make the playoffs, because right now you've got the Texans, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, who are all on the outside looking in. The Jags are currently in right now. The Bills, as you mentioned, are in. I think the Ravens, I think their best path is to track down the Steelers and make it there. I still think coming out of the AFC, listen, if the Chiefs get into the playoffs, you've got to consider them very likely. This is one of those years, though, honestly, where I feel like it is as wide open as it's ever been in both conferences, honestly. Like, I think from the AFC, the teams that I realistically think can represent the AFC this year are probably Chiefs, Ravens, Broncos. They just find a way to win. Patriots. I don't think the Bills team is complete enough. I like the Chargers a lot, but with their offensive line, I don't know if they can make the run. And then the Colts, I still like them, and yes, they're very good, but I think Danny Dimes, I've got to see it in the postseason before I'm just saying that they're going to come out of there.
Well, Nathan, you saw Drake May against a really good Browns defense where Myles Garrett dominated, but he still kind of overcame it. Why not say the Patriots? Why are you stopping short of saying that?
Answer the man.
I thought I did say the Patriots. Absolutely the Patriots.
So they
100%.
They could be going to the Super Bowl.
I think so, yeah. Drake May is excellent. They are one of those teams that, if you kind of look at their offense, and just to use a little bit of a basketball analogy, The Pacers, yeah, they had Halliburton, but that was kind of a team last year when they went on their run through the playoffs that everybody kind of just understood their role and just did it. And it wasn't like they had all these different mega stars. They just kind of were a really good basketball team. And that's kind of how I feel about the Patriots. Everybody on that team just understands their job, does their job. Their superstar is obviously Drake May. They're finally getting Travion Henderson going, so that gives them an electric factor, not only in the run game out of the backfield as a pass catcher. Diggs has played well. Boutte has been kind of the deep threat. When he's been out, then you've had Pop Douglas step up. So this is a team, and they got the two tight ends, Hunter Henry and not Austin Hooper, the former Brown, who have kind of understood their roles. And they're just efficient. May is really good. He's a much better runner than I think people realize. And then defensively, they're solid. And Mike Vrabel has that team believing and playing very, very well. So, no, I think the Patriots are absolutely in the mix. And that's what's kind of fun about this. That's why I think it's so wide open on that side. I think in the NFC, it's a little less wide open in the teams that I really think actually could get there. The Eagles aren't playing well, but I still think they could get there, the defending Super Bowl champs. And then I think you've got the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers, all of whom have a chance to make it to the Super Bowl. And the NFC North right now is interesting. They're all kind of beating each other up, but we'll see how that shakes out. But I think this is going to be a fun playoffs because I think if you're in, you've got to feel like you've got a pretty good chance to get there. I think there are 10 teams that honestly in their buildings truly believe they have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year, which has not been the case recently.
Nathan, thank you for the time. All the very best to you and yours.
All right. Thank you.
Nathan Zegura on the Fan Hotline.